It takes Harry Markopolos 5 minutes. 5 minutes looking at one man's investment returns to realize they can't possibly be real. Another 4 hours to prove it mathematically. So Markopolos does exactly what you'd expect a responsible person to do. He takes his findings to the US Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC ignores him. He goes back. They ignore him again. He goes back again. Over the next 9 years, Markopolos submits detailed complaints to the SEC on 3 separate occasions, complete with calculations, supporting documents, and one unmistakable warning. He believes he has uncovered the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Still, no meaningful investigation begins. No one shuts it down. No one stops the man responsible. Because the person at the center of it all isn't an unknown fraudster hiding in the shadows. He's one of the most respected names on Wall Street, a former chairman of NASDAQ, a man trusted by billionaires, charities, banks, and even financial professionals. His name is Bernie Madoff. And by the time the truth finally comes out, the scale of the deception will be almost impossible to comprehend. Bernie Madoff doesn't begin as a Wall Street legend. He starts small. In 1960, using money he had earned as a teenage lifeguard, Madoff opens a modest penny stock brokerage. Over the next 3 decades, that small business grows into one of the largest market-making firms on Wall Street. By the 1990s, Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities is handling billions of dollars in trades. Madoff himself serves as chairman of NASDAQ. He isn't an outsider trying to fool Wall Street. He is Wall Street. But behind the firm's public business, Madoff quietly builds something far more lucrative: an exclusive investment advisory operation. Getting in isn't easy. In fact, many people are turned away. Madoff makes access feel like a privilege, not a purchase. And that exclusivity becomes one of his most powerful selling tools. If it's difficult to invest with Bernie Madoff, people assume it must be worth it. Those fortunate enough to get in receive something almost unheard of in finance: steady annual returns, 10 to 15%, year after year, whether markets are soaring or collapsing, whether the economy is booming or sliding into recession. The numbers barely change. Film directors invest, professional athletes invest, successful business owners invest, charities entrust him with their endowments, pension funds place their futures in his hands. Some families invest multiple generations of savings. And almost nobody asks the obvious question: how can anyone produce returns this consistent for this long? Because every month, the statements arrive exactly on schedule. Every withdrawal is paid. Every promise appears to be kept. And with every passing year, trust becomes Madoff's most valuable asset. In 1999, at a Boston investment firm, quantitative analyst Harry Markopolos receives what seems like a straightforward assignment: figure out how Bernie Madoff is generating such remarkably consistent returns. Then see if the firm can build a strategy that does the same thing. So Markopolos starts where every quantitative analyst starts, with the numbers. Almost immediately, something doesn't make sense. Madoff claims to be using an investment strategy known as split strike conversion, a legitimate option strategy designed to reduce risk while generating steady returns. Real investment firms use versions of it. But real versions don't produce the kind of performance Madoff is reporting. The more Markopolos analyzes the data, the stranger it becomes. When he plots Madoff's monthly returns on a graph, they don't behave like financial markets. Markets rise, markets fall. They react to wars, recessions, interest rates, and investor panic. Madoff's returns do almost none of that. Instead, they climb in an almost perfectly smooth line, month after month, year after year, with barely any losing months across more than a decade. Later, while testifying before Congress, Markopolos offers a comparison that everyone can understand. It would be like a baseball player finishing an entire season with a .966 batting average, when even the greatest hitters in history struggle to reach .400. The numbers simply don't exist in the real world. Then he finds something even more troubling. The trading records don't add up either. On the dates Madoff claims to have executed massive options trades, the volume required would have exceeded the total number of contracts actually traded across the entire market that day. It isn't just unlikely, it isn't even highly improbable. It's mathematically impossible. By the time Markopolos finishes his analysis, he believes there are only two possible explanations. Either Bernie Madoff is carrying out one of the largest insider trading operations in history, or he's operating a Ponzi scheme, using money from new investors to pay returns to existing ones. The more he investigates, the more convinced he becomes. It's the second one. In May 2000, Harry Markopolos walks into the SEC's Boston office, carrying evidence he believes exposes one of the largest financial frauds in history. He expects questions. He expects investigators. He expects someone to take a closer look. Nothing happens. A year later, he goes back. Again, nothing. By November 2005, Markopolos has become even more certain. This time, he submits his most comprehensive report yet, a detailed mathematical breakdown of why Bernie Madoff's investment operation cannot possibly be legitimate. Even the title leaves little room for interpretation. The world's largest hedge fund is a fraud. The SEC does eventually examine parts of Madoff's business. Investigators review documents, they interview people, they spend months looking into the firm, and somehow they still find nothing. Years later, Madoff himself points to the mistake that, in his view, allowed the scheme to survive. According to him, investigators never asked the one question that would have exposed everything. They never compared his reported stock trades with the records held by the Depository Trust Company, the industry's own clearinghouse, responsible for verifying whether those trades had actually taken place. If those records had been checked, the fraud could have unraveled almost immediately. Madoff would later say that if you're investigating a Ponzi scheme, that's the very first thing you do. They never did. Markopolos wasn't alone. Over the years, journalists occasionally questioned how Madoff's returns could be so consistent. Competing fund managers quietly dismissed the numbers as unrealistic. Whispers spread through parts of Wall Street, but the whispers never became action. Madoff brushed the criticism aside. His reputation protected him, his connections protected him, and the secrecy surrounding his exclusive investment business meant very few people ever had access to the information needed to challenge his story. For nearly a decade, the warnings kept coming, the evidence kept growing, and still, nothing changed. For nearly 2 decades, Bernie Madoff's fraud survives for one simple reason. A Ponzi scheme only needs one thing to stay alive: more money coming in than going out. For most of the 2000s, that's exactly what happens. New investors continue pouring money into the fund. Existing investors, thrilled with their steady returns, leave most of their profits exactly where they are. Very few people ask for large withdrawals. And as long as that continues, the illusion holds. Then, 2008 arrives. The global financial crisis sends markets into free fall. Fear spreads everywhere. Investors begin pulling money out of hedge funds, banks, and investment accounts across the financial system. Madoff's clients do exactly the same. Only now, they all want their money back at once. By early December 2008, Madoff is facing approximately $7 billion in withdrawal requests. He can't pay it, because the money isn't there. It never was. Behind the account statements, behind the monthly returns, behind years of carefully manufactured success, there had been no investment strategy generating those profits. No extraordinary trading, no secret formula. Only money from new investors being used to pay existing ones, while the rest sat in a growing pool of client cash that kept the illusion alive. On December 9, 2008, Madoff calls his two sons, Mark and Andrew, into his apartment. Both work at the firm. Both believe the business is legitimate. Then, their father tells them the truth. His investment business, he says, is one big lie. Basically, a giant Ponzi scheme. The brothers are stunned. They leave the apartment. They contact a lawyer. The lawyer contacts federal authorities. 2 days later, on December 11, 2008, FBI agents arrive at Bernie Madoff's Manhattan apartment. This time, there's nowhere left to hide. As investigators begin untangling Bernie Madoff's records, the true scale of the fraud slowly comes into focus. It is almost impossible to comprehend. Client account statements show nearly $64.8 billion in balances. But that number is an illusion. Most of it never existed. It was made up. Profits Madoff simply invented, month after month, year after year, printing wealth onto paper that had never been earned, because the money had never been invested in the first place. The actual cash losses, real money entrusted to Madoff that investors never recovered, total approximately $18 billion. More than 40,000 investors across over 100 countries have been caught in the scheme. Some lose retirement savings. Some lose family fortunes built over generations. Some charities lose the endowments that kept their organizations alive. In March 2009, Bernie Madoff stands before a federal judge and pleads guilty to 11 felony counts. There is no plea bargain, no trial, no cooperation agreement identifying other conspirators. Madoff insists he acted alone. 3 months later, at his sentencing, victims finally have the chance to speak. One tells the courtroom that Madoff stole from the rich, the poor, and everyone in between, and that he did it without conscience. Judge Denny Chin listens, then delivers the maximum sentence the law allows: 150 years in federal prison. The court also orders Madoff to pay approximately $170 billion in restitution, a figure so enormous that almost no one believes it could ever be fully recovered. Moments later, Bernie Madoff is led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. For the first time in decades, the man who convinced thousands of people to trust him owns nothing but a prison sentence. Some of the victims watching from the gallery begin to applaud. The damage didn't end with the arrests or the prison sentence. For thousands of families, it never truly ended at all. 2 years to the day after his father's arrest, Bernie Madoff's son, Mark, takes his own life. 4 years later, his other son, Andrew, dies after battling cancer. Many of Madoff's victims never recover. Some lose retirement savings built over an entire lifetime. Some charities are forced to close their doors. And at least 2 investors take their own lives after discovering everything they had trusted Madoff with was gone. Bernie Madoff dies in federal prison in April 2021, still serving a sentence longer than several human lifetimes. Harry Markopolos, the man who first uncovered the fraud, never receives an apology from the SEC. What he does receive is something else: vindication. His years of warnings eventually help drive reforms that strengthen whistleblower protections, designed to ensure the next person who uncovers a fraud like this has a better chance of being heard. Because beneath the billions of dollars, the headlines, and the courtroom drama, the real story was never about one extraordinary criminal. It was about an extraordinary failure to listen. The numbers never made sense. The math never worked. Someone had proven it, years before the world finally caught up. The fraud didn't survive because it was impossible to detect. It survived because trust replaced verification. And when the people responsible for asking difficult questions stopped asking them, One of the largest financial frauds in history was allowed to keep growing, right in front of everyone.